Superman, the Man of Steel, was invincible. But he wasn't prepared for what happened next. When a crash landing goes wrong, the Justice League finds themselves on a hostile orc-infested planet. The Ork Painboy sees the opportunity. "I can fix this," he cackles, his tools sharp and ready. But this isn't your average Kryptonian injury. It's about to get real messy. Superman can't even escape the Ork's treatment. Will he survive the most bizarre healing process ever? The Painboy's tools aren't made for Kryptonian flesh, but that doesn't stop him. The whole battlefield quakes as Ork technology tries to heal Superman. But at what cost? The Waaagh. Energy is wild, unpredictable, and the only thing keeping Superman alive for now. What happens when Superman's powers clash with the Ork's deadly healing? You won't believe what happens next. Superman might just become something else. Superman, wounded and weakened, crashed through the atmosphere. His landing created a shockwave that could be felt for miles. But this wasn't the worst of it. The Justice League had just finished fighting off a Darkseid army when a sudden portal opened, pulling them into a new world, a war-torn Ork planet where the fight never ends. Before Superman could assess the situation, a massive green-skinned Ork with a large tool belt and a crazed grin approached him. The Ork Painboy, a twisted medic with a reputation for treating injuries with sheer brute force, cackled. "You got a big hole in your chest, yeah? That means you need fixin', don't it?" Superman, still stunned by the crash, tried to stand, but his body wouldn't cooperate. The Painboy didn't wait for permission. With a swift motion, he slammed a metallic drill into Superman's chest. "Don't worry, lad. This'll fix you right up." But the Painboy's tools weren't just ordinary medical instruments. They were infused with Waaagh energy, a mystical force unique to the Ork race, which enhanced everything they touched, especially their healing processes. Superman winced as the drill whirred to life, pumping alien chemicals into his body. The pain was unlike anything he'd experienced. Ork tech wasn't precise. It was crude, raw, and incredibly destructive. With every motion, Superman felt his Kryptonian cells react violently, the healing energies clashing with his own alien DNA. For a brief moment, the Painboy's work seemed to heal Superman's wounds, but it didn't stop there. The Waaagh energy was wild and chaotic, and as the Ork energy fused with Superman's body, it started to alter his very physiology. Superman's eyes flashed with raw power as the Waaagh energy took hold. His strength skyrocketed to unthinkable levels, his muscles bulging with dark green electricity. He could feel his super senses flickering in and out, his heat vision shooting out uncontrollably. But something fell off. The connection between him and the Waaagh energy was growing stronger, changing him into something he wasn't supposed to be. "No, this isn't me," Superman growled, his voice cracking with the Ork influence taking root. The Painboy, oblivious to the chaos he had unleashed, cheered. "That's it, lad. You're a proper Ork now, eh?" But Superman was far from done. His willpower surged as he fought the foreign energy. But the Painboy's work was far from over. The Waaagh energy was rewriting Superman's DNA, altering his very essence. What had started as a simple fix turned into a nightmarish transformation. His eyes glowed with green intensity, and for a split second, the Man of Steel was no longer the hero he once was. The Ork Painboy stood back, admiring his work, grinning ear to ear. "Ain't he beautiful? Now you'll fight like an Ork, lad." But Superman wasn't finished yet. The true battle was about to begin, against the Ork transformation that was taking over his body. Could he regain control, or would the Painboy's influence create the most dangerous weapon the galaxy had ever seen? Superman's mind screamed for control as the Waaagh energy surged through his veins. He could feel it, gnawing at the edges of his mind, corrupting his thoughts, turning his instincts into something wild, something feral. The Painboy's crude healing had done more than fix his body. It had changed him. He wasn't just a Kryptonian hero anymore. For the first time, he felt the primal, savage instincts of the Ork race coursing through him. His super senses flared uncontrollably, and his eyes glowed a dangerous shade of green. Every movement, every muscle in his body screamed with newfound strength. But it wasn't his strength. It was twisted, unpredictable, and volatile. Superman's X-ray vision pierced through everything around him, but it felt different. Not sharp and controlled, but fuzzy, distorted by the chaotic energy that surged inside him. The Painboy cackled, oblivious to the growing power inside his patient. That's it. You're going to be a real warrior now, Superman. No more fancy flying and clean punches. You'll be fighting like an orc. Superman's hands clenched into fists, and the air around him crackled with power. His chest heaved with breaths that now felt heavier, more labored. He could feel the alien tech altering his body, warping his cells, merging his Kryptonian essence with the raw, savage energy of the Orks. The Painboy's work wasn't just a fix. It was a mutation. But then, a voice inside his head, calm and clear, cut through the chaos. It was Lois Lane. His heart ached at the sound of her name. You're not like them, Clark. You're not one of them. It was enough to break through the madness. Superman's willpower surged, pushing against the corrupting force of the Ork influence. He wasn't just a hero. He was Superman, and he controlled his destiny. With a primal roar, he slammed his fists together, and the air around him erupted in green lightning. The Painboy staggered back, startled by the force emanating from Superman. Boy, what's going on with you then? Superman gritted his teeth, his voice low and guttural, barely recognizable. I will never be like you. He clenched his fists tighter, the Waaagh, energy surging in opposition to his will, but he held on, drawing strength from every ounce of his Kryptonian spirit. His vision blurred, but then for a fleeting moment, Superman saw his true self, a symbol of hope, not rage. He wasn't just some beast bound by Ork energy. He was the man of steel, and he would fight for his soul. But even as he regained control, the Ork influence was still there, lurking beneath the surface. Every punch he threw felt too wild, too chaotic. His heat vision shot out in unpredictable bursts, burning everything around him. Every move was a battle against the savage part of himself that he could no longer ignore. The Painboy grinned, watching the chaos unfold. That's it, Superman. You got the fight in you now. Imagine what I could do with more of that energy. We could take down the whole universe together. But Superman's eyes narrowed, and for a second, the Ork's insane laughter seemed to fade. This wasn't just about survival anymore. This was about identity. Power without control wasn't a gift. It was a curse. In an instant, Superman shifted his focus, channeling every bit of Kryptonian strength he had left into a single, controlled burst of heat vision. It was clean, sharp, and pure, slicing through the Ork equipment surrounding him. The Painboy yelped, backing away in fear. But Superman wasn't finished. He was no longer a victim of the Ork's chaos. He was Superman, and he was about to face his most dangerous opponent yet. Himself. This is who I am, Superman muttered, his body still trembling from the transformation. And I will never let you take that away. Superman stood amidst the chaos, still trembling with the wild energy coursing through his veins. The Waaagh energy had taken root deep inside him, but he wasn't finished. Not yet. The Ork Painboy and his tools might have altered his physiology, but his spirit, his willpower, was still his own. His breath was labored, his heart racing. But through the flickering green light that surrounded him, Superman's eyes narrowed, glowing fiercely with determination. You won't control me, he whispered, his voice raspy, but strong. He wasn't just fighting for his body anymore. He was fighting for his identity, for everything he stood for. Before he could regain full control, however, the ground shook. The Ork forces were here, and they weren't alone. From the rubble of the nearby city ruins, a massive Waaagh energy blast erupted as the Ork war boss, a massive, hulking brute in makeshift armor, charged through the smoke. Behind him, an army of boys and Gretchen swarmed, armed with crude weapons and a hunger for battle. The Orks were coming in full force. You fight like a real Ork now, Superman, the war boss bellowed, his voice full of crazed enthusiasm. I'll show you how a real Ork fights. He raised a massive power claw that crackled with raw power. Let's see how tough you are after you've had a real fight. Superman's fists clenched, and his eyes turned a dangerous shade of green. He could feel it, the Waaagh energy was still there, bubbling beneath the surface, threatening to consume him completely. But he couldn't let that happen. He couldn't fall to their madness. Not when he still had a chance to save himself. The Ork war boss lunged, swinging his power claw with devastating speed. Superman dodged, his movements fast, but the wild energy inside him made it harder to stay controlled. He was no longer sure if he was fighting the Orks or fighting the rage within himself. With a roar, Superman retaliated, his heat vision flashing from his eyes in wild, uncontrollable bursts, sending the Ork boys scattering. The heat tore through buildings and left scorch marks across the battlefield. No, Superman grunted, shaking his head. He wasn't this. He wasn't an Ork. He wasn't a beast. He was Superman. He reached deep within, summoning every ounce of Kryptonian discipline he had left. He needed to control the Waaagh energy. With a deep breath, he focused. His body surged with power, and he tuned out the noise of the Ork warboss's taunts and the explosions around him. Slowly, the green glow that had overtaken him started to dim, like a fading storm cloud. I am in control. His voice echoed, a deep, resounding command to his own mind. The Ork warboss roared, swinging his massive weapon down toward Superman's head. But Superman was ready. In one fluid motion, he caught the warboss's power claw with his bare hand, the sheer strength of his grip crushing the weapon. His eyes flared with a mix of heat vision and focused Kryptonian energy, burning through the Ork's armor. "You don't control me," Superman growled, as he flung the warboss aside, sending him flying across the battlefield with a powerful shockwave. The remaining Orks were now caught in a frenzied rush, but they were no match for Superman's strength and speed. As the last of the Orks retreated, Superman stood in the center of the battlefield, panting, exhausted but victorious. The Waaagh energy still raged within him, but for now, he had regained control. His body was bruised, battered, but his will was stronger. "This isn't over," he muttered, looking at the crater where the Ork warboss had landed. "But I'll be ready." Suddenly, a faint voice echoed in his mind, Lois Lane's voice. It was soft, comforting. "You're not alone, Clark. Remember who you are." He clenched his fists, the Waaagh energy still bubbling beneath the surface, but this time he embraced it. With new resolve, Superman knew that the true battle wasn't against the Orks. It was against the darkness within him. The war was far from over, but for the first time since he'd been fixed, he was Superman again, and he would do whatever it took to keep the Ork madness from consuming him, no matter the cost. Superman stood in the ruins of the Ork war zone, his chest heaving with each breath, his body battered and bruised from the chaos. The Waaagh energy was still coursing through his veins, but it had lost its hold on him. For now, he was in control. The Ork war boss had been defeated, the army scattered, but there was one final obstacle left: the Painboy. The Ork Painboy was the source of the madness, the twisted mind behind Superman's transformation. It was the Painboy's crude healing techniques that had unleashed the Waaagh energy into Superman's body, and it was time to put an end to it once and for all. The battlefield was silent, save for the occasional rumble of Ork artillery in the distance. Superman's eyes scanned the wreckage, his mind still struggling against the feral instincts of the Ork influence. He could feel it, like a wild beast waiting to break free. But he wasn't going to let that happen. Ahead, standing on a pile of shattered Ork debris, was the Painboy, holding his beloved Snykrot special surgical tool in one hand, grinning like a madman. "You thought you could stop the fun? You're just getting started, Superman. Let's see how much more Waaagh energy we can pack into ya." Superman's eyes glowed bright with an intense focus, locking onto the Painboy. "This ends now." The Painboy's grin widened as he swung his tool toward Superman, a sudden burst of green energy crackling around it. "You think you can fix me, eh? I'll make sure you stay with me forever. No more Kryptonian whining about your control." With a shriek, the Painboy charged, swinging his tool in erratic, jagged arcs of electric green lightning. The air pulsed with the intensity of the Waaagh energy, and Superman's body tensed as the very ground seemed to tremble with the chaos around them. Superman dodged the Painboy's wild swings, moving with fluid Kryptonian speed, but the Ork's movements were unpredictable, filled with chaotic force. The green lightning from the Painboy's tools surged toward Superman, crackling through the air with Ork energy. Each strike sent shock waves through Superman's body, but he refused to succumb to the rage bubbling up inside him. With a roar, Superman used the Waaagh energy to counterattack, but this time it wasn't uncontrolled. His heat vision flared to life, aimed precisely at the Painboy's tool, severing it in a controlled beam. The Painboy's cackle stopped abruptly as his weapon fell to the ground, sparking with residual energy. "You think that's enough?" the Painboy yelled, his eyes wild with madness. "I'll fix you good, Superman. I'll make you one of us." Superman's eyes narrowed. "You can't fix me. You'll never break me." The Waaagh energy surged once more, but Superman focused, pulling the energy toward his core. He was no longer a puppet to it. The very chaos that had corrupted him would now be used against the Painboy. In a flash, Superman was on the Painboy, his hands wrapping around the Ork's throat. The Painboy struggled, but Superman's grip tightened. "You messed with the wrong Kryptonian," Superman growled, his voice filled with righteous fury. With a final surge of strength, Superman squeezed out the last of the Ork influence, expelling the Waaagh energy from his body. The Painboy's eyes widened as he realized that his twisted fix had failed. Superman threw him aside, his eyes burning with the fire of the sun. "You're finished." The Painboy lay motionless, his body battered, his tools shattered. The last vestiges of the Waaagh energy dissipated into the air, and Superman stood victorious, but not without cost. He was forever marked by the Ork madness, but he had conquered it. Superman looked to the sky, the distant stars shining in a way that felt almost familiar again. The battle for his soul was over. He had faced the darkness within him, and he had won. But as the last of the Ork forces retreated, Superman knew that this was only a brief victory. The universe was vast, and many threats still loomed. Yet, for the first time since his transformation, he felt truly like himself again. "Superman, I'm ready for whatever comes next," he whispered to the wind, his cape fluttering in the breeze.